Have you noticed how heaviness arrives quietly? Not a collapse, just a slow dimming. Mornings that start late, afternoons that blur, nights that stretch. You tell yourself you'll move when the mood lifts. You'll think clearly when the weight leaves. You'll begin again when the world feels lighter. But the Stoic path begins from where you are, not where you wish you were. When energy is low and sadness sits beside you, you don't wait for a different weather. You learn to sail this one. You don't deny feeling. You refuse to be confiscated by it. These lessons are not theory. They're simple, repeatable moves that return authorship to your hands even when your heart is tired. Lesson 1. Accept what you cannot change. The first fight that drains you is the fight with the unchangeable. You wrestle yesterday as if it might apologize. You bargain with the facts as if they might rearrange themselves for your comfort. You rehearse paths not taken until the floor wears thin under your pacing. Acceptance isn't giving up, it's giving back, handing reality what belongs to it so you can take responsibility for what still belongs to you. The refusal to accept is a subtle arrogance, the belief that the universe should adjust to the story you prefer. Acceptance is humility's courage, the decision to look at life as it is and ask, where is my lever now? Begin with the body, because the body tells truth more quickly than the mind admits it. Sit. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the breath as a moving fact, nothing to fix, only to notice. Name what is undeniably true without adding courtroom language. The job ended. The person left. The plan changed. The lab result says what it says. You aren't required to like these sentences. You are required to tell them before you can do anything wise. The longer you stall here, the more energy you burn, building a map to a city that isn't on the continent anymore. You'll feel the old story reach for the microphone. This shouldn't have happened. If only I had. Why do they? That chant has rhythm. It can rock you back to sleep for months. Interrupt it gently with a phrase you can live by. This is the day I have. Not the day I wanted. Not the day I was promised. Not the day someone else posted. This is the day I have. The strength you want grows only in days you actually have. Acceptance switches the lights on in the room you're standing in. Grief can be felt there, and work can be done there, and both are cleaner when you stop pleading with locked doors. Acceptance is not a mood. It's a series of decisions that favor reality over fantasy. Decide to retire the autopsy of yesterday and invest those minutes in a small repair now. Decide to stop arguing with other people's choices and strengthen the boundary that keeps you from being dragged by them. Decide to name the constraint as a parameter for creativity rather than a verdict against movement. Energy returns when you stop trying to power an impossible machine. But if I accept this, won't I become passive? Only if you confuse acceptance with apathy. Apathy shrugs and does less. Acceptance nods and does the next right thing. The test is simple. Does your acceptance generate motion? If the answer is no, you aren't accepting, you're avoiding. Acceptance that moves looks like this. You revise the budget, you schedule the doctor, you clean a square foot of your life, you send 3 messages you've delayed, you walk for 15 honest minutes in the air you actually breathe. None of this asks the past to change. All of it changes your present. There is a grief you owe yourself, and acceptance makes room for it without letting it flood the house. Sit with the ache for a measured time. 10 minutes of clean sorrow, a page of words no one will read, a hand on your own chest while you say the sentence you've been dodging. Then stand and choose one motion that honors what was lost and feeds what remains. You can weep and you can work. The order matters. If you work first to escape feeling, the feeling will chase you. If you feel first in order to work, the work will steady you. Acceptance also simplifies relationships. You stop turning people into projects. You believe what they do, not what you rehearse about their potential. You hold your line without preaching theirs. Some will adjust because your clarity invites it. Some will leave because your clarity exposes the deal they had with your confusion. Both outcomes are merciful. You cannot love from a place of denial. Acceptance returns you to a love that respects edges. Make a small ritual to keep you honest. Each morning, write 3 lines. What is unchangeable today? What is mine today? What is next today? The first line removes fantasy. The second line restores power. The third line purchases momentum. Through sad hours and thin energy, this ritual keeps you from wasting the only life you'll ever own on arguing with the sky. Acceptance will not lift every weight. It will stop you from wearing extra ones. It will free the hand you've been using to point at the past so you can pick up a tool. It will untie the knot between your ribs, just enough to breathe like someone who can still move. And when you move, even a little, the day shifts. Not because fate grew kinder, but because you stopped trying to edit fate and started cooperating with it. That cooperation is where dignity grows. Quiet, untheatrical, durable. Lesson 2. Remember that emotions are temporary. When sadness sits heavy on your chest, it convinces you it's a permanent resident. When anxiety starts its fast drum in your ribs, it swears this rhythm will never end. Emotions speak in the voice of forever, always, never, ending, ruined. They're wrong. Every feeling you've ever had has passed through you like weather. Some were summer squalls, some were winter fronts, a few were long grey seasons, but none were eternity. Remembering this is not a slogan, it is survival. It is how you stop treating today's storm like a life sentence and start treating it like what it is, a pattern moving across a sky that is larger than it. Begin with your body, because the body knows time in ways your mind forgets. Put one hand on your ribs and one on your belly, and watch the breath change shape under your palm. In, out. No feeling, not even grief, can arrest this ancient tide forever. Let the breath be your metronome for a minute, not because breathing perfectly will delete sadness, but because it reminds you of cadence. Cadence is the antidote to panic. Panic shrinks time to a pinprick. Cadence stretches time back to human size. Seconds you can count, minutes you can survive, hours you can structure, days you can build. Now say out loud what the feeling is, and say it like weather. Sadness is present. A wave of fear is here. Loneliness is moving through. The low energy has returned. Notice the grammar. You are not a sad person or an anxious person. You are a person, and this is a passing state. That tiny linguistic wedge cuts a tunnel through the wall the emotion is trying to build around you. Through that tunnel, options appear. You don't have to fix everything, you only have to walk to the next small, dry place. Emotions are temporary, but the actions you take inside them can have long half-lives. This is why remembering impermanence matters. If you believe the feeling is forever, you're tempted to make forever choices. Quitting the craft, ending the relationship, sending the message you can't unsend. Throwing your schedule into the river because it feels pointless today. Detachment protects you by insisting on a grace period. No life edits while the wave is standing over your head. You can feel it fully. You can write it down unfiltered. You can ask for a witness. You cannot burn bridges to warm yourself for an hour. There's a rhythm that helps. Contain, convert, continue. Contain means give the emotion a measured space to exist without spilling into the rest of your day. 10 minutes with a notebook, or a walk without headphones, or tears that are allowed to come and go without a story attached. Convert means translate the energy into one proportionate act that fits your values. Wash the dishes you've been avoiding, send one honest check-in, take a shower and change clothes, step outside and let the air change your blood. Continue means return to a pre-chosen small task that doesn't require inspiration. Fold laundry, read 3 pages, write 2 ugly paragraphs, walk 15 minutes. Continuation is not denial, it's dignity under weather. You may protest, but this sadness keeps coming back. So did mourning, so did hunger, so did the urge to avoid. Recurrence is not permanence. It is an invitation to build systems that greet repeat visitors. If nights are the worst, write yourself a postcard at noon and leave it where you will find it. You will feel smaller later. Here is what you will do. Eat, breathe, warm shower, no decisions, bed by 11. If social feeds spike your despair, move the icons off your first screen and make your phone earn the right to own your eyes by placing it in another room during the first hour. If the apartment makes you sink after sunset, install small lights and anchor a simple evening ritual. 1 tidy, 1 page, 1 call, so you have rails to ride when your legs are rubber. Remember the archive of your own life. This is not your first storm. Think of the afternoons you were sure you wouldn't make it and did. The mornings you couldn't lift your mind and still kept one promise. The nights you were convinced the ache meant something permanent about your worth and woke with a little more air between your ribs. Make a ledger of saves, dates, what you felt, the small act that got you to the next hour. On heavy days, read it like a script from a wiser you. Evidence drains the glamour out of despair. Despair feeds on amnesia. You will not forget. Be careful with music, screens, and words when you're low. You need tenderness, not gasoline. Some songs are a staircase, some are a trapdoor, some videos are a hand, some are a hole. Some phrases you repeat are honest. Some are hexes. Replace always with today. Replace never with not yet. Replace no one with I haven't found who yet. These aren't cliches, they're levers that pry you loose from absolutes. Absolutes are the favorite weapon of temporary moods. Let other people be bridges, not saviors. Ask for presence, not prophecy. Can you sit with me for 10? Can you walk with me to the corner? Can you listen while I spill, then remind me to do the next small thing? The right witness doesn't argue with your feeling or inflate it. They sit, they reflect the human back to you. They nudge you toward the lever you already named this morning when the sky was wider. Shared oxygen shortens storms. Finally, put a time box around the day itself. Low-energy days often stretch because they are unframed. Frame yours. Morning has a beginning, not a blur. Afternoon earns a reset, not a slump. Night has a close. Lights down. 3 lines. What I kept, what I learned, what I do first tomorrow. Sleep is the most stoic of teachers. Every night is a rehearsal of impermanence. Every morning proof that nothing, no feeling at least, got to be forever. You are allowed to be sad and slow. You are not required to believe the sadness defines you or the slowness dooms you. The sky is larger than the cloud. The river keeps moving under the ice. Hold the handrail. Breath, language, small acts, gentle allies, until the weather changes. It will. It always has. Lesson 3. Live in the present. Low energy loves the past and the future. It drags you backward to re-edit scenes you can't touch, or hurls you forward into simulations where everything goes wrong. Meanwhile, the only place your hands work, The present sits unused a foot away. Living in the present is not a hashtag, it's a craft. It means you stop donating attention to time zones where you have no leverage, and you make a home inside the minute you're actually in. This isn't smaller living, it's truer living. When you inhabit now, the day becomes workable again, not lighter by magic, but lighter because you're finally lifting the corner you can reach. Begin with contact. Before you try to think positively, return your nervous system to the room. Sit. Place both feet flat. Unclench your jaw and rest your tongue on the roof of your mouth. Find 3 far sounds, then 3 near sounds. Name 5 things you can see without judgment. Lamp, cup, window, your own hands, the line of light on the wall. Breathe in for 4, out for 6, 10 rounds. This is not spiritual theatre, it is maintenance. Presence starts as a physiological state before it becomes a psychological choice. When the body registers, I am here, the mind can stop sprinting for exits. Now narrow the frame to what you can do in the next block of time, not what would fix your life, what would move your hour. Give the hour a job and a box, 45 to 90 minutes, 1 verb, 1 target, 0 tabs you don't need. Write 400 honest words, review and send the proposal, do the workout as written, clear 10 invoices, cook 1 clean meal. Presence is not obsession with sensation, it is devotion to the next right action. Action shrinks problems to size because it returns you to the only scale at which they actually get solved, 1 move at a time. Use a simple loop to keep the mind from wandering into past/future while you work. State arrow standards, arrow step. State. Say what's here without prophecy. Tired but capable. Standards. Read a short paragraph that defines how you move at your best. Clear, kind, consistent, courageous. Step. Write the smallest concrete next action a stranger could execute. When the mind drifts, and it will, don't scold it. Return it to the loop. The rep is not never leaving. The rep is always returning. Install 2 guardrails that make presence cheap. No inputs before first output, and single task the bottleneck. No inputs before first output means your day meets you before messages do. Even 10 minutes of producing, words, plan, lifted weight, puts you inside now and gives you a rhythm to defend. Single task the bottleneck means identify the one task that unlocks the rest and give it undivided attention until you move it forward. Multitasking is nostalgia for an identity where you were always busy. Presence is commitment to a reality where something actually finishes. If rumination sneaks in mid-block, separate facts from stories on paper in 3 lines. Fact, filmable, meaning choose one that keeps you mobile. Next, tiny, then resume. If forecasting steals your afternoon with worst-case scenarios, give it a leash. 3 minutes to list risks, 3 minutes to list counter-moves, then back to the lever. Unbounded forecasting is anxiety's playground. Bounded planning is leadership. The difference is a timer and a decision to return. Bring presence to feelings without turning the day into a feelings project. When sadness rises, meet it for 5 clean minutes. Breathe, write what hurts without poetry, put a hand on your ribs, and then escort yourself back to the task you chose. This is not coldness, it's care. You are refusing to let one wave drown the shoreline of your hours. When joy appears, let it fully appear. Smile, text a line of gratitude, take a longer breath, and then also return. Presence holds both without making either the boss. Design small anchors that pull you back every time the world tries to rent your attention. A sticky note on your monitor. What's real? What matters? What's next? A phone wallpaper. This minute pays. A door frame you touch before you enter a room and choose a virtue. Clarity, patience, courage. A 2-minute midday reset outside. 3 distant sounds, 3 near, 1 next step. These aren't superstitions, they're handles. Handles make now graspable. Evenings matter. Presence at night is how you earn presence tomorrow. Close the day with 3 lines. Kept, a promise to yourself. Learned, 1 note you'll test. Next, the first lever you'll pull in the morning. Then, stop. Put the day down like a weight you do not carry to bed. Sleep is the most honest present tense teacher you have. It only happens here and now. Treat it like part of the work, because it is. You may fear that living in the present will make you small. No grand visions, no long arcs. The opposite is true. Only people who inhabit minutes can build years. Dreams are built 1 governed hour at a time. When you are fully here for enough hours, the future stops feeling like a threat and starts behaving like a consequence of craftsmanship, of standards, of cadence. And the past? It becomes a library, not a prison. You visit for lessons and return with tools. Today won't get easier by argument. It will get truer by contact. Touch the breath. Touch the task. Touch the world that exists within arm's reach. The minute you can touch is the minute you can change. The minute you can change is the life you can build. That life is waiting exactly where your feet are. Lesson 4. Master your internal dialogue. When energy is low, the loudest voice in the room is often the one inside your skull. It does not whisper, it declares. It names you with final nouns, lazy, behind, hopeless, and then hands you a sentence for the day. You are the problem. You know this voice. It borrows authority from your past stumbles and edits out every page that shows your recovery. It calls itself honest, but it is not honest. It is theatrical. Stoicism does not try to mute this voice by force. It teaches you to change the language of your mind from a courtroom to a workshop. The judge is replaced by a coach. The cross-exam becomes a plan. Begin with recognition. The inner critic never announces itself as a character. It impersonates the truth. So you catch it by tone. Truth is steady. The critic is urgent. Truth is specific. The critic is absolute. Truth creates motion. The critic creates collapse. When you hear always, never, everyone, no one, that's not truth. It's theater fog. Name it without hatred. You're here again. Sit. You can stay, but you don't get to drive. Even this small naming moves you from hostage to host, and hosts set rules. Now, change pronouns and posture. Speaking to yourself as I fuses identity with whatever feeling is flooding the floor. Shift to your name, or to you, the way a good coach would. You're tired, but capable. You feel behind. The next hour is still yours. You want to hide. We'll do the smallest honest thing. The grammar matters. That sliver of distance is oxygen. In that oxygen, you can negotiate with yourself instead of submitting to yourself. Sit taller. Unclench your jaw. Exhale longer than you inhaled. The body's change of state is a truth too. It tells the mind, we are safe enough to choose. Interrogate claims like a scientist, not a lawyer. The lawyer cherry-picks evidence to win the case you already decided. The scientist asks 3 simple questions. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it actionable? You're a failure. Not true. Too absolute. Not helpful. Produces paralysis. Not actionable. What lever would that sentence suggest? Replace it with a smaller, truer line that leads somewhere. You missed your plan yesterday. True. You're learning to protect mornings again. Helpful. Block 25 minutes before messages. Actionable. This is not toxic positivity. It is accurate language designed to recover authorship. Build a private lexicon that serves you under low skies. Retire phrases that curse your day. I can't. I'm always like this. It's over. And replace them with lines that keep you mobile. Not yet. Today is heavy, but not empty. I will win the next hour. Small is still forward. Floor over ceiling. One lever, then another. Write them where your eyes land. Cupboard door, lock screen, the first page of the notebook you actually use. You are not trying to hypnotize yourself. You are giving your mind rails to run when the road is slick. Shift your inner voice from judge to foreman. Judges make pronouncements. Foremen assign tasks. When the mind starts narrating your worth, interrupt with a job. 2 glasses of water. 1 brisk walk around the block. Open the dock. Write the ugly first line. 10 minutes of tidy so the room stops stealing your will. The critic starves when you feed the hour. And after the small job, you say the sentence the old voice never learned. Good. Done. You don't wait for a parade to acknowledge movement. You mark it yourself and move again. Keep receipts. Low energy breeds amnesia. You forget your own evidence and borrow identity from the last mood. Make a ledger that cannot be argued with. Date, state, 1 promise kept. 3 out of 10, flat, walked 15 minutes and sent the email. 311, sad, cooked, wrote 300 words. Read the ledger at night instead of your feeds. The critic cannot survive piles of contrary data. Over weeks, the identity you speak from changes because the proof you're holding changed first. Address shame with proportion. Shame loves poetry, how you ruin everything, how you are uniquely broken, how your delay is a moral failure rather than a human pattern. Answer with prose. You said you'd get up at 7. You got up at 9. Here's the plan for tomorrow's first 30 minutes. Prose is not glamorous. It is effective. It takes your hands off your throat and puts them back on the wheel. Be wary of borrowed voices, parents, teachers, timelines, a culture that rewards theatrical self-contempt as virtue. You can honor the past without letting it ghostwrite your mornings. If you hear a voice that isn't yours, tell it kindly to leave the room. Then write 3 lines in your own tone, the one you'd use with someone you want to get stronger this month, not just obedient for 5 minutes. You're in pain, we keep our floor. You're late, we still show. You're scared, we carry one small thing to the finish. Make a morning and evening script. Morning. Name the state, read your standards, choose the next lever in 1 line. Evening. What I kept, what I learned, what I'll do first tomorrow. Scripts are not cages. They are scaffolding while you rebuild. When the day has teeth, scaffolding keeps you from falling stories. You climb again tomorrow, and the words climb with you until they are no longer words. They are the way your breath moves when life raises its voice. Mastering your internal dialogue will not delete sadness or conjure energy on demand. It will stop you from donating your remaining strength to a narrator that doesn't know how to build. You will still have thin days, but thin days will contain clean sentences, small honest acts, fewer apologies, and a steadier pace. Your voice will become a place you can live, not a place you survive. And from that shelter, the work resumes. Lesson 5. Practice daily gratitude. Gratitude sounds too soft for heavy days, like a pretty word you pin to a storm. You picture lists of sunsets and coffee foam while your chest is a stone and your inbox is a siren. No wonder you resist it. The gratitude I'm asking for is not decoration, it's calibration. It isn't a denial of pain, it's the discipline of proportion. It says, even now there are forces working for me. I will name them so my mind stops worshipping what's missing and starts cooperating with what's present. Gratitude, practiced daily, is not about feeling thankful. It is about training attention. Attention decides your chemistry, your choices, your character. When energy is low and sadness is loud, gratitude becomes a counterweight you can actually lift. Begin with the smallest unit, proof of life. Notice the breath you didn't assemble. Watch your ribs rise without instruction. Feel the warm water on your hands. Name the body's quiet work: heart, lungs, eyes, skin, bones. None of these systems asked for your permission to keep you alive this morning. That isn't sentimentality, it's inventory. Your mind claims nothing is working. The body replies with 1,000 uninterrupted processes. If you can't find all yet, borrow accuracy. Much is working. Let accuracy soften the gridlock in your chest by 1 notch. Next, look for scaffolding, the ordinary structures that stop your life from collapsing: a lock that turns, a light that switches on, a chair that holds your weight, a schedule that can be edited, a friend whose number you can dial, an income line, however thin, an elder's sentence that returns to you on bad afternoons. Gratitude is most potent when it lands on unglamorous supports you stop seeing because they were faithful. Write 3, not a poem, just nouns with short notes. Lock, felt safe last night. Notebook, gives shape to spirals. Kettle, brings warmth fast. The act is mechanical and sacred at once. You're teaching your attention to report reality, not just drama. Then add the difficult gifts, the bruises that taught you form. You don't have to romanticize harm to harvest instruction. Pick one wound that shaped a strength you now use, a rejection that made you clearer, a delay that made you patient, a mistake that made you meticulous, a season alone that made you resourceful, a mentor's hard word that made you honest. Gratitude here does not mean it was good that I suffered. It means I will not waste what the suffering paid for. This is Stoic alchemy, converting pain into power by acknowledging the gold it accidentally left in your hands. Make the practice daily by shrinking it to something survivable. People fail at gratitude because they try to feel extraordinary every time. Don't. Do 3 lines in the morning and 3 at night. Morning, already given, already here, already learned. Night, kept, kindness seen, small joy. Already given might be the breath, a roof, a person. Already here might be a skill, a chance, a second chance. Already learned is 1 note from the day before. Kept is a promise you honored. Kindness seen is a human gesture you witnessed or received. Small joy is anything that made your face change for a second. Steam in cold air, a song that fit the hour, the way light landed on the table. Write like you're filing a report to a future you who needs evidence that life was more than the hardest part. Gratitude is not only written, it is enacted. Turn 1 line into an act within 24 hours. If you wrote, kettle brings warmth fast, make tea for someone else. If you wrote, friend answers when I can't name it, send them a 2-sentence thank you without performance. If you wrote, body kept going, give it a nap or a walk as pay. Gratitude that exits the page enters the nervous system more deeply. It becomes a feedback loop. Notice, -name, -nourish. Beware of counterfeit gratitude, performances for approval that leave you emptier, not fuller. The test is aftermath. Real gratitude reduces envy, softens cynicism, and nudges you toward generosity. Counterfeit gratitude demands witnesses and curates optics. Keep your practice mostly private. Tell 3 people a week what you appreciate about them in plain language. Tell yourself daily in writing without needing claps. The room will feel the difference. Private gratitude thickens presence. Public performance thins it. Use gratitude to interrupt spirals. When your mind starts stacking indictments about yourself, the world, the timing, call a 2-minute timeout. Sit, breathe longer out than in, and list 5 neutral facts you appreciate in this exact room. Chair holds. Light works. Phone is charged. Document is open. Window opens. Then add 1 moving gratitude. I can still choose the next right act. Resume. 2 minutes won't erase sadness. It will loosen panic's grip enough for a wiser move to fit through. Don't let gratitude become an argument against grief. They can share the hour. Grief says, "This hurts." Gratitude says, "This isn't the whole story." Hold both and your humanity deepens. Hold only grief and you drown. Hold only gratitude and you float above your life, smiling and unreachable. Stoic gratitude stands on the ground, wet with rain, and says, "Even here there is something to hold that strengthens my hands." If you want a hard mode, practice gratitude towards someone who made your day harder, not for the harm, but for the clarity it gave. Thank you for showing me where my boundary needed to live. Thank you for demonstrating what I won't do with my team. Thank you for revealing a skill gap I can train. This advanced move is not compulsory. Use it only when the lesson is real and your system can carry it. Done honestly, it turns you from a collector of injuries into a builder with materials. Finally, let gratitude aim your ambition. We think gratitude dulls hunger. It doesn't. It refines it. When you see what's already good, you stop chasing prestige and start pursuing mastery. You build where life is already giving you traction. You ask for more not because you're empty, but because you're ready to steward more. Wants born from scarcity make you frantic. Wants born from gratitude make you focused. Today, when energy is thin and the room feels grey, do the smallest version. 3 lines morning, 3 lines night, 1 act in between. No flourish, no hashtags. A quiet ledger of what's true and kind and working. Keep it for a week. Then read it aloud to yourself on a day you'd normally surrender. You'll hear a different narrator, not the one who only counts losses. The one who notices scaffolding, converts pain, and keeps moving. That voice carries. Lesson 6. Find strength in adversity. When the floor drops out, your first impulse is to scramble for the old ceiling, as if the point of hardship were to return you to before. That's natural and costly. Adversity is not a detour from your path. It is part of the road that builds the legs to finish it. The Stoic promise isn't that pain becomes pleasant. It's that pain becomes productive when you decide what it will be allowed to make in you. You do not need to enjoy the storm to be shaped by it. You need to stay long enough to extract the muscle it offers. Start by retiring the fantasy of the frictionless life. You don't get stronger by reading about resistance. You get stronger by meeting it with form. Say the sentence that reclaims authorship. This is training. Not punishment, not proof I'm cursed. Training. Training changes how you interpret signals. The late payment becomes a lesson in cash flow discipline. The rejection becomes a copy edit for your message. The breakup becomes instruction in boundaries, self-respect, and standards you will not negotiate again. Training does not trivialize pain. It converts it into curriculum. Curriculum doesn't end the sting. It assigns a task to it. Adversity exposes the gap between the identity you prefer and the evidence you can produce. Stand in that gap without theatrics. Inventory the failure, not as a verdict, but as a system report. What failed? Your timing, your preparation, your ask, your follow-through, your recovery pace. Write a one-page debrief with 3 clean headings: intention, outcome, gap, and one line at the bottom: next honest rep. That rep must be small enough to do while heavy. When life weighs you down, you're not weak, you're under load. Under load, good form is short. 1 call, 1 paragraph, 1 walk, 1 invoice paid, 1 apology delivered, 1 boundary enforced. The point is not speed, it's direction under gravity. Meet the 2 thieves of strength, self-pity and spectacle, at the door. Self-pity whispers, "You are uniquely injured. Sit this life out." Spectacle shouts, "Announce your pain loudly so you don't have to meet it quietly." Both steal the hours adversity could be paying into your account. Replace self-pity with self-respect. Feed, sleep, move, and keep 1 promise today, because you are a person worth carrying through a hard week. Replace spectacle with proof. Return to your cadence and put 1 artifact into the world: a shipped draft, a cleaned ledger, a trained set. Evidence that you can move without an audience. Recruit virtues on purpose. Adversity is a gym. Virtues are the lifts. Choose the one your day demands and practice it in place. Courage when fear says postpone. Make the call before noon. Temperance when comfort claws. Finish the set. Eat the meal that steadies instead of spikes. Justice when you're tempted to turn inward and hoard. Do 1 useful thing for someone else to pry you out of your own echo chamber. Wisdom when you want speed more than truth. Ask, what is real? What matters? What's next? Virtues make strength legible. They give your pain a shape to push against. Engineer micro-advantages inside the mess. Hard seasons shrink attention, shrink the battlefield with it. Protect 1 morning hour from inputs so you can set tone before the world rents your breath. Establish a floor you'll hit even on bad days. 25 minutes of deep work, a 15-minute walk, a tidy of 1 square foot, a single honest outreach. Floors preserve identity when ceilings are out of reach. Tie your efforts to time, not mood. For 45 minutes, I will be with the task. When you measure by presence, you keep moving in weather you can't control. Let adversity refine your aim. Many goals you chase are just escapes with good branding. Pain strips gloss. Ask the question only hard seasons make you honest enough to answer. What am I really trying to build, and what am I pretending to want? Then trim. The project that survives scrutiny becomes sturdier because you stop dragging dead weight. Simpler aim, cleaner work, fewer apologies. Adversity is a ruthless editor. Thank it by cutting what was never going to print. Give your pain a neighbor, gratitude, not to cancel it, but to keep it proportioned. Name 1 scaffolding that still holds, a friend, a skill, a door you can knock, and 1 difficult gift the day gave. Clarity, a revealed limit, a broken habit. Strength grows in the soil of both, the ache that reminds you you're alive, and the support that reminds you you're not alone, even when you feel lonely. If you cannot access gratitude, access accuracy. Much is hard. Not everything is. Accuracy is a calmer fuel than outrage. Build a recovery loop with the same seriousness you bring to work. Sleep within a window, more nights than not. Put your body in daylight daily. Eat to stabilize, not sedate. Speak to 1 person who can hold you without making you perform your pain. Recovery is not reward, it is infrastructure. Strength is not louder effort, it's sustainable effort. Without recovery, adversity turns from teacher to tyrant. Choose an emblem act you can complete inside the week that will be visible to your future self. something small and undeniable. The first invoice sent, the 1,000 words drafted, the room cleared, the certification module passed, the 5K walked. Photograph it, log it. Hard seasons make memory unreliable. Artifacts anchor identity. When doubt returns, it will, you won't argue with feelings. You'll point at evidence. Evidence calibrates courage. Finally, speak to yourself like someone you want to rely on later. Not with fluff, not with cruelty, with commands that carry. Stand up, shoulders back, breathe long. We will win the hour, then win the hour. Adversity respects rhythm more than rhetoric. String enough honest hours together and the landscape changes. Not because fate softened, but because you stopped trying to bargain with it and started training under it. That training is the strength you were looking for in easier rooms. It isn't pretty. It's better. It stays. Lesson 7. Take care of your body to take care of your mind. When energy collapses, the mind volunteers to solve itself with thinking. You add more concepts to a system that's starving for glucose, light, and sleep. You try to out-argue your biochemistry. That's like lecturing a thirsty plant on mindset. The Stoics understood what we forget in our most intellectual hours. The mind rides in a body. If you want clean thought, you must first build clean conditions. Philosophy is not an escape from flesh. It is a way of inhabiting it wisely. Begin by telling the truth about your machine. You are not a brain on a stick. Your judgments, moods, and resilience are not hovering in a cloud. They're produced inside a nervous system that keeps score. Too little sleep, and the amygdala, your threat detector, shouts over the prefrontal cortex that does proportion and planning. Too much sugar and your energy yo-yos, dragging attention with it. Zero movement and your mind tries to move in place. Rumination as fake cardio. None of this makes you weak. It makes you biological. The shame you pile on top of low energy is often just ignorance of this simple physics. Stop scolding the smoke. Tend the fire. Think like a caretaker rather than a critic. A critic names the problem and performs superiority. A caretaker changes the inputs. You already know the levers. You keep bargaining with them because they don't look deep. They are deep. They determine whether your thoughts arrive frantic and jagged or steady and usable. So treat the basics as sacred. Sleep, light, movement, fuel, water, breath. Lower the bar and raise the consistency. Not a 12-week transformation, today's governable acts. Sleep first, because nothing else compensates for its absence. You don't need perfect nights to change your days. You need a window and a ritual. A window means you aim for the same hour down more nights than not. A ritual means you stop telling your nervous system to win a war and then asking it to slide into peace in 60 seconds. 15 minutes of dimming, a phone that sleeps in another room, a page that belongs to no one but you. 3 lines, kept, learned, next. You are not performing self-care. You are giving your brain permission to file the day and return to baseline. Tomorrow's clarity begins in tonight's closing. Light is a mood you can put on. Go outside soon after waking, even if the sky is shy. Eyes, not screens. Collect morning and tell your clock what day it is. 10 minutes changes chemistry for hours. This is not placebo, it's wiring. You are aligning your inner time with outer time, so your mind stops arguing with the planet. Feel how drama shrinks when your body remembers the world is larger than your room. Move as if your thoughts depend on it, because they do. Don't wait for a program. Your brain wants rhythm and load, not spectacle. Walk like you're late for the bus for 15 minutes. Add a minute of breathing hard enough to hear it. Add something that asks your muscles to carry you. Push the floor, hang from a bar, pick up a weight with form that feels like respect. Movement flushes stuck mood, lifts usable energy, and teaches your system a sentence it can repeat when panic visits. We can carry this. That sentence, felt in the legs and lungs, is worth more than 100 pep talks. Fuel is not moral, it's mechanical. Eat in ways that steady you, not in ways that spike and crash you. A simple rule on thin days: meals that could exist outside the internet. Enough protein to quiet the 3 p.m. hunt. Enough fiber to keep the machine honest. Enough color to remind your eyes that life isn't grayscale. You don't need to be impressive. You need to be operational. When sadness asks for sugar as anesthesia, try warmth first. Soup, tea, sunlight on your face. You are not banning comfort. You are choosing comforts that don't charge interest. Water seems too trivial to mention until you remember your brain is a saltwater instrument. Dehydration impersonates despair, then charges a coaching fee. Drink a full glass when you wake, another before coffee, another in the afternoon desert where your will usually dries. Notice how many mindset problems end at the bottom of a glass. It won't solve grief. It will keep grief from borrowing symptoms that don't belong to it. Breath is the fastest lever you own. You can't decide to sleep on command. You can decide to lengthen your exhale. The body listens to that cue. Long out equals safe enough. Try the physiological sigh. 2 short inhales through the nose, 1 long exhale through the mouth. 3 rounds before you reply, before you present, before you talk yourself out of the walk you already promised. This is not magic. It is a message to your ancient animal. We are not being chased. A mind that is not being chased thinks better. None of this requires perfection. It requires governance. Governance survives bad days by having flaws. A flaw is the minimum you hit even when the sky leans on you. Outside for 10 minutes, move for 10, drink 3 tall glasses, 1 real meal, lights down within a window, 3 slow breaths before you answer anything that can change a week. Flaws preserve identity when ceilings feel impossible. Without flaws, you start believing the lie that your mind is a mystery you can't influence. With flaws, you remember the truth. Your mind is your body's best idea about how to move through the world today. You will meet resistance from the part of you that prefers complicated suffering to simple stewardship. It will say these acts are basic, beneath you, not philosophical enough. Translate the protest. I'm scared to try the obvious, because then I'll be responsible for how I feel. Responsibility is not blame. It's the beginning of power. When you do the obvious and your day changes shape, you won't become smug. You'll become kind, to yourself first, then to others. A regulated body makes patience cheaper. A fed body makes boundaries cleaner. A rested body makes courage attainable at 3 p.m. when most promises die. If you need a single move to start today, choose one that touches multiple systems at once. A brisk walk outside with water in your hand and your phone in airplane mode. 10 minutes. Then a real meal. Then the next small lever you chose this morning when your standards were louder than your mood. Watch how the inner weather responds to the outer one. Watch how your thoughts stop shouting and start speaking. Watch how sadness can sit beside you without driving, because there is finally another adult in the car, the one who tends to the machine that carries you. Take care of the body and the mind, thanks you in the currency you were chasing all along. Cleaner attention, steadier emotion, decisions you can sign your name under tomorrow. Philosophy becomes flesh. Strength stops being a quote and becomes your pulse. That's not vanity. That's the discipline of being human well. Lesson 8. Remember your purpose. When energy is thin and sadness hangs like fog, even simple tasks feel heavy because they're disconnected from a why. You push the rock because you should, because it's on the list, because someone expects it. Obligation moves the body. It rarely moves the heart. Purpose does. Purpose is not a slogan you paste on your wall. It's a through line that makes pain intelligible and effort endurable. Without it, every friction feels like an insult. With it, the same friction becomes a fee you're willing to pay. Start by separating mission from mood. Mood asks, how do I feel about this right now? Mission asks, what did I say I'm building with my life? Mood is weather. Mission is architecture. You honor the architecture even when the weather sulks. This is not Stoic cosplay. It's adult governance. On low days, your purpose will not arrive with trumpets. It needs to be recalled and reread. Keep it where your eyes land before inputs arrive. One paragraph that answers 3 questions in plain language. Who do I serve? How do I help? What kind of person am I becoming while I help? Read it. Not for dopamine, for direction. Many people freeze at this step because they imagine purpose must be grand or Instagrammable. That fantasy starves real lives. Purpose can be quiet and sharp. I make complex ideas usable for tired people. I build systems that let families breathe. I raise 2 humans with patience and standards. I repair broken things so others can move. I conduct myself with dignity so my circle can borrow calm. Modest purposes are merciful. They can be practiced today. Grandiosity is a clever way to postpone. Once written, you need proof of purpose baked into each day so your body feels the why, not just your head. Translate the paragraph into 1 daily act of service, 1 daily act of craft, and 1 daily act of self-respect. Service. A helpful note, a clearer doc, a meal cooked with presence. Craft. 45 minutes on the bottleneck skill that raises your usefulness next month. Self-respect. A boundary enforced or a recovery choice that keeps you operational tomorrow. When sadness says nothing matters, these acts argue with evidence. Purpose also chooses what to stop. Your calendar is a belief system. If your week is packed with tasks that don't feed your mission or your becoming, your body will revolt with mysterious fatigue. Audit with a red pen. What on this list is performance for approval rather than contribution? What is legacy habit, not current alignment? What belongs to a self you outgrew? Cross out one item that pays only in optics. Purpose is subtraction as much as devotion. When adversity hits, purpose becomes a compass, not a shield. It doesn't prevent the wave. It tells you which way to swim. A cancelled contract? You grieve, then ask, which part of my mission is being tested? Service, craft, or character? If service, knock on 5 new doors. If craft, tighten the offer or train the skill. If character, hold the line without bitterness. Now your actions are not random, they're aligned. Alignment does not guarantee quick relief. It guarantees that what you suffer will not be wasted. Expect to forget. Forgetting isn't failure, it's human. Build remembering rituals that don't depend on ideal mornings. Before your first output, whisper a line that links task to purpose. This paragraph helps tired people think. This lift keeps my mind steady at 3 p.m. This no protects the mother I want to be. During the day, touch a small anchor object, a ring, coin, card, and tie it to a sentence. Remember why. At night, close with 3 lines. Where I served, what I improved, how I stayed aligned. Purpose leaves fingerprints. Notice them. Guard against purpose's counterfeit, image. Image wants to look purposeful. Purpose wants to be faithful. Image chooses visible, dramatic moves and burns out. Purpose repeats quiet, unsexy acts that compound. Image shouts summaries. Purpose produces receipts. The litmus test. If no one could see you today, would your actions still make sense inside your mission? If yes, proceed. If not, you are feeding the crowd, not the cause. Purpose does not eliminate sadness, it organizes it. When your why is near, sorrow joins the crew as weather to work under rather than a god to appease. You can be sad and still write the page that serves. You can be flat and still show up to the rep that builds the craft. You can feel small and still keep the promise that preserves your self-respect. This is how dignity survives heavy seasons, not through impressive feelings, but through aligned acts. If your purpose feels far, borrow a provisional purpose for a week. Reduce suffering by 1 unit for someone within arm's reach. Then act daily. Clean the kitchen so morning you suffers less. Return a call with calm tone so a friend suffers less. Document a process so your team suffers less. Tiny mercies restore direction. Direction restores energy. Finally, remember that purpose is a person you're becoming, not just a thing you're doing. Write a 3-line standard operating self. I tell the truth calmly. I protect one sacred block. I leave rooms kinder than I found them. Read it before you move. On days when outputs stall, you can still live the input of character. That keeps the flame when the wind is rude. Your life won't suddenly glow. It will align. The heaviness won't vanish. It will be harnessed. And as you keep showing up to acts that match your why, you'll feel a subtle voltage return. Not hype, not spectacle. Just that clean current that runs through people who know what they're for. Lesson 9. Limit negative distractions. When sadness is near and energy is thin, distraction feels like mercy. 5 minutes to numb the ache, 10 to catch up, 20 to get ideas. You blink and the day is gone, traded to a feed that never loved you. Distraction isn't merely wasted time, it is rented attention, your most precious instrument playing someone else's song. The Stoic move is not to hate the world's noise, it's to stop offering your life to it at retail. You restrict what steals your center, not because you are fragile, but because you are in charge. Begin with a confession that returns power. The problem is not that distractions exist, it's that you have left your doors unlocked. Notifications are invitations, not commands. Tabs are temptation, not fate. You can lock the doors. Start by reclaiming the first hour. The mind that wakes is soft clay. Whatever presses first leaves fingerprints all day. If you give that hour to headlines and messages, your nervous system spends the afternoon begging for external cues. If you give it to breath, movement, and one honest output, the day orbits you instead of you orbiting it. No inputs before first output isn't a slogan, it's a sovereignty clause. Design your environment like a guard, not a poet. Your hands go where your eyes point, so hide the hooks. Move the icons that start spirals off your first screen. Log out of the platforms that turn minutes into fog. Put the phone in another room during the block you promised yourself. Grayscale your display so the carnival loses color. Let your desk show only what belongs to this hour. You don't need to become a monk. You need to make the default the right thing. Friction for noise, glide path for work. That is not rigidity. That is kindness to a tired brain. You tell yourself distraction is harmless because it is small. It isn't small. Each switch taxes cognition, and heavy seasons have no spare fuel to burn on context changes. Practice single-tasking as an act of self-respect. Choose one verb for the next 45 minutes and wear blinders while you honor it. Write, code, design, train, clean, call. When your hand reaches for the tab, because it will, notice, name, navigate, reaching, return, resume. You're not chasing purity, you're training returns. Every return is a vote for the person you keep promising to become. Lower the volume of the information diet that keeps your cortisol humming. You don't need 3 news cycles a day. You need one window where you learn what affects your choices and then close the door. Cure it like a professional, 2 or 3 trusted sources, a scheduled check, no doom spiral permissiveness. The goal is not ignorance, it's proportion. Anxiety loves the feeling of staying informed because it mimics action. Replace mimicry with movement. After you read, ask, "What is mine?" Then do something within arm's reach. The world is not helped by your compulsive refreshing. It is helped by your useful hour. Notice the difference between distraction and restoration. Distraction sedates and leaves you duller. Restoration nourishes and returns you ready. A walk without headphones is restoration. A call with a steady friend is restoration. A short nap in a dark room is restoration. Stretching your back, washing your face, sunlight on your eyelids, restoration. Endless scroll, performative arguments, sugary outrage, performable pietism, sedation. The proof is what follows. If the next block is easier, you restored. If it's harder, you escaped. Escapes are understandable. They're also expensive. In thin seasons, choose cheap fuel that burns clean. Build small containers around what tends to leak. If messaging devours your focus, batch replies at 2 set times and tell people when to expect you. If meetings bloom to fill any space, enter with a clock and one decision you want to leave with. If your feed is where envy hunts you, limit it to a 10-minute window. Unfollow accounts that trigger comparison and replace the reflex with a deliberate skill rep. Read 2 pages, write 5 sentences, practice the scale. You're not depriving yourself. You're choosing the sensation of finishing something over the sensation of being everywhere and nowhere. Expect withdrawal. The body will itch for the quick hits that kept boredom at bay. Boredom is not an emergency, it's a doorway. On the other side is depth. Depth feels awkward at first because you've trained novelty per minute. Sit through the first 10 minutes honestly. Set a timer. Keep your seat. Let boredom thin. Focus thickens where boredom used to live. This is why your best ideas visit in the shower or on a walk. Your mind finally has a single channel to swim. Be tender with lapses. The point is not to become a statue, it's to become a steward. When you catch yourself 20 minutes into nowhere, don't write a manifesto about your weakness. Stand, drink water, breathe out longer than in. Name what's next in one line a stranger could do, and do it. Shame throws you back to the feed. A small act returns you to your life. Track one saved spiral per day. The message you batched, the tab you closed, the block you finished. Let evidence, not self-punishment, build identity. Tie your limits to your purpose, so discipline doesn't feel like punishment. I limit news because my mission requires a calm lens. I limit late-night scrolling because tomorrow's work matters. I limit group chats because I love my family in the evening. Boundaries without why become brittle. Boundaries with why become culture. You live inside them without constant negotiation. Some distractions are people. You don't need to exile them. You need to reframe access. Offer kindness. Install edges. I'm heads down until 10. I'll reply at noon. Let's schedule, not ping. Happy to help. Send one clear question. You're not becoming cold. You are protecting a commons called your attention. Others benefit when you do. Your work improves. Your tone softens. Your presence returns. People prefer your focused kindness to your scattered availability. Limit negative distractions, and your sadness won't vanish. It will stop multiplying. Your energy won't skyrocket. It will stop leaking. You will look up at 4 p.m. and realize you still have something left for the part of the day that matters most. That is not small. That is a different life built hour by guarded hour, where your attention belongs to your mission more than to the marketplace. Lesson 10. Own your reactions. You can't choose every scene you'll walk into today, but you can choose the character you'll be when you enter. That's not motivational glitter. It's the most practical power you own. Reactions are expensive. They spend tomorrow's peace to buy today's relief. Ownership is cheaper. It converts the same surge, anger, shame, fear, into an action you can sign your name under tomorrow. When energy is low and sadness is loud, this matters more, not less. The world will offer you provocations. Ownership declines the auction. Start where the trouble starts. Speed. Provocation is fastest. Proportion is slower, so you must build a clutch. Feel the heat rise. Jaw, chest, the itch to correct, to clap back, to set the record straight. That's the alarm. Don't argue with alarms. Honor them with a pause. One breath longer out than in. Then use language like tools. Not, I am furious, but fury is present. Not, I'm humiliated, but a wave of shame is moving through. The grammar is not cute. It's structural. It puts you in the role of custodian, not captive. Captives react. Custodians respond. Now interrogate the scene with 3 cuts that return you to agency. First, real. What would a camera record? Words said, time passed, actions taken. Second, responsibility. Which slice of this is mine? Clarity I failed to give. A boundary I didn't set. Fatigue I ignored. An assumption I made. Third, response. What's the smallest clean move that honors my values? Often it's not the paragraph you want to send, it's one sentence. Let's move this to a call. I'm not available for that. I'll reply at 3 p.m. with options. Clean moves de-escalate because they are decisions, not performances. Ownership also means pre-deciding where you won't bleed. You aren't obligated to litigate your worth by text. You aren't required to answer the second question hidden inside the first. Do you still love me? Dressed up as logistics. You aren't responsible for other people's projections, only for minimizing avoidable harm and staying aligned. If you've been clear and kind, your job is done. Release the rest. Indifference to the unownable is not coldness. It is conservation. When you inevitably misstep, because you will, owning reactions doesn't mean defending them. It means repairing them. The apology is a muscle, brief, specific, responsible. I spoke fast and sharp. That wasn't fair. I'm sorry. Here's what I'll do differently next time. No courtroom, no but. No self-flagellation disguised as virtue. Then demonstrate the new standard at the next opportunity. People trust changed behavior more than they trust eloquent remorse. So does your nervous system. Beware the in-house saboteur, righteous anger. It feels like clarity. It often hides cowardice. You get to feel it. You don't get to let it run the day. Ask what the anger is protecting. Fear of loss, fear of being seen, fear of being ordinary, and answer with a lever, not a monologue. Make the call, raise the price, leave the room, ship the draft. Righteous anger wants you loud. Ownership wants you effective. Choose effective. Your evenings will thank you. Build a floor for your reactions on tired days. 3 non-negotiables. No life-changing messages inside a spike. No difficult conversations after 9 p.m. No arguing tone over text. Floors protect identity when ceilings are out of reach. Hitting the floor is not mediocrity. It is discipline under weather. It tells your brain, we still are who we said we'd be, even when the sky is low. Let your body help you. Unclench your jaw, lower your shoulders, place both feet flat. These aren't manners, they're switches. A steady posture tells the ancient animal in you that survival is not at stake, conduct is. From that state, your vocabulary shrinks in a good way. You stop stacking context to justify yourself. You start saying the one sentence that moves the scene forward or ends it cleanly. Restraint becomes not suppression, but selection. If you need a ritual, keep it embarrassingly simple. Before you respond to anything that spikes you, touch the table and whisper, choose. That word is a bridge from impulse to identity. Walk across it. Be the person who leaves rooms calmer than you found them, who turns criticism into a single upgrade, who makes boundaries feel like good management rather than revenge. That reputation accrues compound interest, not only in how others treat you, but in how your own mind trusts you. Owning your reactions won't make the world gentle. It will make you trustworthy in a world that isn't. And trustworthiness to yourself is the beginning of real confidence, the quiet kind that doesn't need to win every skirmish because it's busy winning the day. 1 fewer reaction, 1 cleaner response, 1 evening saved from repair. That's not small. That's a different life. Lesson 11. Be inspired by examples of resilience. Low seasons shrink your imagination. Pain edits your picture of what's possible until the only future you can see is a more articulate version of how you feel now. Borrow other people's proof. Resilience is contagious when you study it correctly, not as myth, the flawless hero, not as voyeurism, the highlight reel, but as a manual, inputs, standards, cadence. The Stoic tradition is a lineage of ordinary humans who kept their flaws when their ceilings fell in. Let their receipts widen your map. Start close. You don't need a marble statue to teach you. Think of someone you actually know who endured without theatrics. A grandparent who kept working after a loss. A friend who stayed sober through a winter. A colleague who rebuilt quietly after a layoff. Ask what they did, not what they posted, how they slept, who they called, what they stopped consuming, what hour they guarded, what tiny ritual held the day together. Resilience is rarely a roar, it's a sequence. Then look outward to canonical examples, not for worship, but for pattern. The names matter less than the mechanics. You'll find the same levers repeating a clear oath who they would be under pressure, a simple code, inputs over impressions, a small circle, people allowed to speak into their process, and a cadence, work, recover, repeat. You'll see grief allowed to be grief without turning into identity. You'll notice the refusal to let praise or blame alter the day's promises. You'll see boundaries installed without bitterness. Find these echoes and you'll have a checklist to run when your own hour goes dark. Turn inspiration into imitation, then iteration. Pick one element from a life that moves you and install its smallest version. If a writer you admire produced daily, regardless of weather, your version might be 20 minutes before the world. If an athlete you respect trained when travel wrecked routines, your version might be a carry-on workout you can do in a hotel bathroom. If a leader you trust held a no crisis by text rule, your version might be moving heated conversations to 5-minute calls. You're not cosplaying their life. You're porting a protocol and sizing it to yours. Beware of inspiration as sedation, the documentary binge that replaces doing, the quote that gives you a dopamine pat while your room is still on fire. The test is artifact. Within 48 hours of being inspired, there must be a visible step in your world. A scheduled block, an email sent, a sketch drafted, a hard conversation scheduled, a purchase made that commits you. Inspiration that doesn't turn into motion becomes nostalgia for a person you might have been. That hurts more than trying. Collect micro-stories that match your exact friction. Tired parent who found a 30-minute groove. Late bloomer who shipped their first book at 52. Injured athlete who trained around the tender link until the chain was strong again. Immigrant who built in a language that wasn't theirs and made clarity a superpower. Tape 2 or 3 to your mental mirror, not as talismans, as instructions. Each story should answer a practical question you face today. How to begin small, how to continue quietly, how to finish without applause. Let resilience re-educate your sense of time. Many overnights took 10 years. Many naturals were consistent before they were gifted. Many breaks were built by becoming impossible to ignore in a narrow lane. When sadness tells you that your pace is proof of failure, answer with a longer clock. You are not late. You are early for the person you're becoming. Long clocks make patience affordable. Finally, become someone else's example, not by being impressive, but by being reliable. Keep your floor through 3 rough weeks. State the boundary once and enforce it without fury. Ship 1 small artifact daily for 30 days. Sleep before midnight more nights than not. Recover out loud without drama. I missed yesterday. Here's the correction. Someone near you is starving for a human-scale model of resilience. Be that model. When they ask, how, tell the truth. You borrowed proofs. You sized them down. You kept cadence. Then point them back to their own 48-hour step. Examples don't carry you. They show you where your feet can land next. Put a foot there. The view widens. Your breath steadies. Your map updates. And one day, without trumpets, you'll realize you have become the person you used to look for. Ordinary, steady, useful in storms. Lesson 12. Make self-control your strength. When energy is thin, you crave a rescuer, motivation, luck, a better mood. They're charming and unreliable. Self-control is unglamorous and undefeated. Not the clenched jaw version that makes life small, but the clean kind. Doing what matters, when it matters, especially when nothing in you is volunteering. If you make this your signature, sadness loses leverage. You stop negotiating with minutes. You start governing them. Self-control begins with floors. Ceilings are for good weather. Floors are for every day. Write yours. 1 sacred block before inputs. 1 movement that warms the blood. 1 square foot of order restored. 1 outreach or page shipped. Hit the floor, and the day is already different. Miss the floor, and you don't write a poem about failure. You resume before the next hour ends. Never miss twice for the same reason is more powerful than any pep talk you've ever heard. Shrink decisions. Every extra choice is a leak. Pre-decide the first 30 minutes of your morning, the training you'll do when travel breaks routines, the line you'll say when someone pushes a boundary, the meal you'll default to when the day goes sideways, the rule for hot messages, pause, call, or tomorrow. Self-control loves rails. Rails carry you when will is low. This isn't rigidity. It's compassion for a tired brain. Make identity the point, not drama. I am someone who honors the first block. I am someone who speaks in one sentence when heated. I am someone who returns to the plan without confession. Identity language frees you from the endless debate about how you feel. Feelings are welcome to ride. Identity drives. The more often you keep small promises, the heavier your identity becomes. Heavy identities don't blow over when weather changes. Use friction wisely. Add it where you break, remove it where you build. If scrolling eats your mornings, exile the phone during your block and put a kitchen timer on your desk so time still has a face. If late-night snacking raids tomorrow's energy, place water and a magnesium routine near your bed and put the sugar where stairs are involved. If arguments spiral on text, install the call or calendar rule. You are not weak. Your environment is loud. Quiet it on purpose. Practice boring heroism. Self-control isn't cinematic, it's cumulative. The day's quiet wins, closing the laptop at the time you said, walking when you'd rather scroll, writing when you'd rather reorganize your desk, stack into a week you respect. Respect is fuel you can use tomorrow. Disrespect is sand in the gears. You don't need to be amazing. You need to be accountable to a reasonable script. Over time, reasonable scripts produce unreasonable results. Recover like a professional. Self-control fails without refuel. Protect sleep windows, see the sun, hydrate, eat food that steadies. Speak to one human who doesn't require performance. If you blow the plan, shorten the distance to your next rep. 10 good minutes beats 0 perfect hours. The point of self-control is not purity, it's continuity. Learn the two-sentence rescue when you wobble. Back to the plan. Start small. Say it out loud. Then perform one micro-act within 60 seconds. Fill water. Stand and stretch. Open the dock. Write the first ugly line. Put on shoes and step outside. Micro-acts puncture inertia's balloon. Once the hiss begins, momentum re-enters. You can ride it for a little while, then cement it with a finished block. Done. Good. Next. Let kindness enforce your control. Cruelty spends the energy you're trying to conserve. You can be firm without being a tyrant to yourself. We said we'd begin at 9. Let's begin. We said we'd stop at 5. Let's stop. We said we'd say no without a paragraph. Here's the sentence. Gentle voice, hard standard. That pairing lasts. Make self-control your strength and you stop needing perfect conditions to live a good day. You become the person who moves in thin weather, who acts more than announces, who rests without quitting, who begins before they believe and keeps going after they stop feeling special. That person doesn't avoid sadness. They remain sovereign inside it. And sovereignty, repeated, becomes peace, the kind you don't have to perform because it's wired into your hours. Low energy and sadness will visit again. They are not failures, they are weather. The difference now is jurisdiction. You've learned to accept what you cannot change, so the day stops leaking into arguments with the sky. You've learned that emotions are temporary, and actions taken inside them echo longer than the moods themselves. You've learned to live in the present, not as a slogan, but as craft, breath, contact, one honest block. You've learned to master the voice in your head, to retire the judge and hire the coach. You've practiced gratitude as calibration, not decoration, strength as training, not theatre, body care as philosophy and flesh. You've remembered purpose and tied it to proof, service, craft, self-respect. You've fenced off negative distractions, owned your reactions, borrowed resilience from examples that fit your life, and made self-control your quiet signature. None of this turns life into a montage. It turns chaos into choreography. Morning meets you, and you don't donate it to feeds. A wave rises, and you host it without letting it steer. A plan bends, and you ride the bend without turning it into a biography. The room gets loud, and you return to your lever. What's real, what matters, what's next. Floors hold when ceilings feel far. Recovery is part of the script, not a reward for collapse. You move before you feel like moving, and, strangely, you begin to feel like the person who moves. You will forget. Good. Forgetting is how remembering stays alive. Each time, return to the smallest honest act. Stand, breathe longer out than in. Drink water. Write one line you can stand behind. Take 10 minutes outside. Name one thing you're grateful for that isn't glamorous. Enforce one boundary without a paragraph. Keep one promise to your craft. The day won't become perfect. It will become yours. Carry a single sentence for the next week. Calm first, then power. Calm in the body, in the breath, in the words you choose. Power in the block you honor, the boundary you keep, the lever you pull. Practice this under low skies until it becomes your handwriting. When the weather lifts, and it will, you'll already be in motion, not because fate favored you, but because you favored reality and moved with it.